the beaches of Normandy, etched into history with the blood and bravery of D-Day, hold secrets far darker and more disturbing than any war diary could ever confess. Because, while thousands of Allied soldiers stormed the sands under relentless fire, on June 6, 1944, many of them never left, not in body, and certainly not in spirit. And to this day, Normandy is said to be haunted by the restless ghosts of those who died in agony, fear, and defiance, trapped between time and death itself. Locals whisper of spectral soldiers seen marching silently at dusk, their boots leaving no impression in the sand, their hollow eyes gazing past the living as if reliving that horrific morning over and over again, and tourists, many unknowingly, stepping into one of the world's largest unmarked graveyard shave, fled from the beaches after witnessing pale, bloodied apparitions clawing at the surf, screaming for medics who will never arrive, or fading with agonized gasps just as quickly as they appeared. And some who dare to sleep in the nearby villages report hearing phantom gunfire at night, accompanied by desperate cries in English, German, and French, echoing through rooms that have stood silent for over 80 years, and in Saint-Mir, Igli, a quaint village once turned battlefield. Residents describe lights flickering violently each year on June 5th, just before midnight, when parachutes are said to descend from an invisible sky, accompanied by thuds on rooftops and ghostly shouting that shakes, shudders, and rattles window pane. And one woman, a lifelong villager named Elise Bernard, has claimed for decades that every June, her home fills with the smell of gunpowder and blood despite sealed windows, and she's seen the silhouette of a man in a World War II paratroopers uniform standing in her hallway, bleeding from his mouth, his neck snapped unnaturally, whispering "We never left" before disappearing into the walls. Even the American cemetery at Colville-sur-Mer, with its rows of immaculate white crosses, is far from peaceful. Groundskeepers have reported shadows moving between the graves with a speed no human could match, voices reciting prayers and final words long after sunset. And once, a tour guide fainted after a cold, invisible hand gripped her shoulder and a voice hissed, "Get down," in her ear just before the sound of an explosion reverberated through the cemetery like a distant, lingering echo of war. And near Point du Hoc, where soldiers scaled cliffs under enemy fire, hikers have seen the figures of men in helmets clinging to invisible ropes, their faces twisted in terror, as if forever trapped in that fatal climb. And those who've tried to help, thinking someone was in danger, find nothing there but a sudden drop in temperature and the heavy iron scent of blood. And near the cliffs themselves, more than one visitor has heard the shriek of a man falling, only to find nothing but calm waves crashing below. And when they look back, they see footprints behind them in the dust-boot prints that vanish in moments. In the forest surrounding Hill 112, said to be one of the most brutal battle zones of the war, ghost hunters and thrill-seekers alike speak of trees that bleed when touched, of whispers in the wind that recount battlefield commands in broken English and panicked German, and of phantom figures standing between the trees at dusk, just watching, unmoving, unblinking, radiating an unnatural despair that sends even the bravest fleeing in silence. And a local farmer named Gerard claims his cattle won't go near the eastern edge of the field where, according to him, the ground hums. And he's buried 3 dogs that returned from those woods with their ears torn and their fur scorched, eyes wide open in terror. And there's the harrowing tale of a British historian named Alan Mercer, who set up motion cameras in a known battlefield zone near Arromanches and disappeared for 48 hours. One found he was barefoot, wandering aimlessly in a daze, whispering coordinates and crying that he was pinned down, even though no bullets flew. And his footage, now archived and suppressed, reportedly shows a dozen figures in 1940s uniforms walking through the frame again and again, heads lowered, some without faces, others riddled with wounds, bleeding out before vanishing into thin air. And the oddest detail was the final showed up single soldier staring directly into the lens, eyes full of sadness, raising his hand slowly before the camera went black. And in the ruins of a bunker near Omaha Beach, teenagers on a ghost tour claimed to hear voices speaking through the walls. Not in any modern language, but the garbled, guttural cries of dying men, and one girl swore she saw a man's face in the concrete itself, his eyes moving, following her, his mouth frozen in a scream that never stops. And a war correspondent staying at a nearby hotel in Bayeux claimed he was shaken awake at night by the pounding of boots in the hallway and the thunder of artillery so loud it rattled the bed when he opened the door. He found the corridor empty, only a helmet lying there, covered in fresh blood, which vanished by morning. Even more chilling is the mystery of the Black Watcher, a figure seen by many in both dreams and waking nightmares. A tall, cloaked entity with no discernible face who walks the beaches before dawn, seemingly watching the phantoms of the fallen and perhaps commanding them. And those who meet its gaze report weeks of nightmares filled with drowning, screaming, and endless combat, as though they're reliving lives that were never theirs. And one American backpacker who encountered the Black Watcher in 2017 claimed that afterward he could recite details of the battle, strategies, and soldier names he had never studied, almost as if something had possessed his memory. Skeptics argue these stories are born from grief, guilt, or imagination. But the sheer number and consistency of the reports suggests something far older and darker is at work in Normandy, something that feeds on trauma and remains where so many perished in fear and agony. And in a land where time seems to blur and silence screams just below the surface, it's clear that the ghosts of D-Day are not just tragedy, are still fighting, still bleeding, and still waiting for the war to end. And perhaps they always will be. So the next time you walk the shores of Normandy, breathe in the sea air, feel the grit of sand underfoot, and know that you're not alone. The past is watching, the dead are listening. And if you hear distant boots or voices calling for help where none should be, don't look back, because you might just meet a soldier who never came home. A soul who doesn't know he's gone, or worse, one who does, and wants to bring you with him. If you made it this fair year, braver than most. The ghosts of D-Day still whisper through the winds of Normandy, and perhaps some stories were never meant to rest. If you felt a chill, heard something strange, or felt like someone was watching, maybe they were. Thank you for joining me in this journey through the haunted echoes of history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another terrifying tale. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your lights on, and remember, some battles never truly end.